Armin, you are muted.
Apologies for that. Hello, everyone. My name is Armine. I am a principal at SmartGate VC, and it's my pleasure to be present here today. With my colleague, I'm joined by my colleague, Mana Yeganian, who is a program manager at our acceleration program in United States, and I myself am the principal of SmartGate VC, which is a pre-seed venture capital fund investing in deep tech companies. Just to give you some idea and background of the type of companies we invest in, we have been the first investors in a company called Crisp, which is doing background noise cancellation with AI. We invested in Crisp back in first quarter of 2017, and from that time on, during last 3 years, you can see the valuation growth for Crisp through this graph. We invested back when Crisp valuation was very low, and just 3 years ago, just 2 years ago, Crisp raised their Series A round with over 120 million valuation. Our portfolio companies have been partnering and serving big name customers, including NASA, UCLA Medical Children's Hospital, NVIDIA, Xilinx, Dell, OpenCV, and others. They have been featured by world-known media such as Wall Street Journal, Times, CNET, Coinbase, Forbes, and others. We ourselves have co-invested and had follow-on investors, including Upfront Ventures, Sierra Ventures, Baidu Ventures, Foundation Capital, Y Combinator. I'm sure most of you heard about this venture capital. But one other thing that is unique about most of our portfolio companies is that all of them come from Eastern Europe. And we have been working with founders to build their deep tech solutions for the last 3 years. And we started noticing patterns. We understood that the technology potential in this region, in Eastern Europe, is immense. It's tremendous. But what we also noticed is that startup teams from this part of the world, like things such as understanding of market concept in US and how to monetize their solutions in US markets. So when it comes to leveraging deep technology solutions and turning those into unicorns, there is no place better than what we call Silicon Valley, which I'm going to talk more about. We work with 500 plus startups. We have been noticing that the ones out of the startups that get to success are the ones that have adopted the Silicon Valley culture and etiquette, that have been working similarly with the similar speed as Silicon Valley companies. So what is Silicon Valley? Let's talk about that. A few terms that I'm sure all of you heard about are PC, e-commerce, internet, PC. All these terms originated in Silicon Valley. Silicon Valley's product is basically intellectual property. What does this mean? This means that the companies in Silicon Valley are prominent because they create some kind of unique technological solutions. They create IP. And along with that, Silicon Valley gave birth to semiconductor companies, software companies, biotech, core technologies for aerospace, and a lot more. You can see those listed here. One other thing to note is that Silicon Valley's culture is spin-out culture and spin-out business model. And we're going to talk more about this. What does it mean and why it is important? So what is and what area is actually Silicon Valley? It's basically this 40-mile area that you see on your screens right now that starts with San Mateo and ends with San Jose. So it's just 40 miles, and five most expensive companies in the world, three out of five most expensive companies in the world are based in this area. Two of them, that are Amazon and Microsoft, that are not based in this area, have been here at some point in their lives. So all this area is basically four counties, which are Santa Clara, San Mateo, Almadea, San Francisco. These four counties are home to a population of 3.5 million people with 1.6 million jobs. Average household income is very different from the average that we see in US. It's almost three times more than the average of US. It's almost $170,000. 12% of all patents are in US come from Silicon Valley. And important to note that 52% of all patents from California come from Silicon Valley too. 46% of 46% have college or some kind of postgrad degree. And the average for this number in US is 29%. 36% of people are foreign born. 51% of people here speak one different language than what they speak in their homes. One third of all US VCs are made. These are just some interesting facts to give you the type of environment they are speaking about. And how did actually this area called Silicon Valley originate? It all started when 8 people left their jobs at Showcase Semiconductor's laboratory and in 1957 and started their own company, which was called Fairchild Semiconductors. Fairchild Semiconductors is the first ever semiconductor company that started in Silicon Valley. And this is in 1957. Following this, after starting Fairchild Semiconductor, people started leaving these companies and starting their own semiconductor companies. Fast forward 16 years, and 65 semiconductor companies were started in Silicon Valley. This is basically the birth of this area. And one of these companies was actually Intel. That's all we know right now. So there is a famous expression, this showcase 8 traitors. So these are the people responsible for mostly responsible for the culture and the environment that we call Silicon Valley. So what was this that we saw with Fairchild Semiconductors and people living, starting their own company? This is basically called spin-out culture. These are people who are risk takers, who are ready to forego their monthly salaries, who are ready to leave their jobs and start something that has a potential to be big. And Silicon Valley is famous for its expression of little big companies. Uh, so every most of the startups you'll see have started with very little and they have very big visions. Just like yours, the companies you start are initially very small, just two founders with almost no funding, starting something very awesome and aiming to conquer the world. People here in this area are mostly job hoppers. What does this mean? This basically means they move from one job to another very quickly. And you would think that this is a sign that people are not loyal. But this is the loyalty itself is not to companies in this area. Loyalty is to communities, basically. Um, and it's very also it's important to remember that it's very hard to enforce what we call non-compete agreements in Silicon Valley. That's because also people constantly change jobs, and most of the time they'll leave a company to work for a company that is similar to their experience. So it's all very rare to see companies trying to impose non-compete agreements on employees. Um, just to give you some idea of how important was spin-out culture itself and is spin-out culture with the creation of this environment, let's look at a couple examples. For example, Apple gave birth to these three companies that you see: Nest, Puff, Flipboard. Google has been so from Google employees originated over 49 companies. I think the number might be bigger actually right now. This was the statistics is from before in 2018. So the number is probably bigger, 49 companies. PayPal, you all probably heard about what we call mafia, like people like Peter Thiel, Elon Musk, that sold their company called PayPal and started their own companies, including Tesla, YouTube, LinkedIn. SpaceX, Yelp, all these companies were started by a few people who who created PayPal initially. Oracle Oracle was gave birth to companies such as Salesforce, Veritas, and actually the first investors of Salesforce. One of the first investors of Salesforce was the founder and CEO of Oracle, Larry Ellison. And this is what your loyalty is in this area. People are loyal to communities. People are not loyal to companies. If you go out and start your own company, your CEO might as well invest in your company. Your previous CEO might as well invest in the company. Salesforce itself gave birth to 40 plus companies, Facebook. So there is just this interesting statistics that I decided to put here. Salesforce Facebook alumni have raised over $271 million by 2012. I couldn't find the updated number, but this is pretty impressive. So this is quick idea. This is just to give you a quick idea of the type of culture the Silicon Valley encourages, and also the type of culture that most successful companies adopt. And this all started in Silicon Valley, but there are a lot of big hubs right now in United States that are encouraging this similar attitude. So LA is becoming very interesting technology hub right now. A lot of people after COVID have been moving to Texas, have been moving to Utah. So these environments are developing as well. So US market is very exciting. California, especially with Silicon Valley, is a very exciting environment to look into. And if you decide to do so, feel free to reach out to us. Now, I want to give the stage to my colleague Mane, who joined us also today, and she'll take the presentation from this point on. Mane, please.
Thank you, Armina. Hi, everyone. So now that we got an overview of what the US and more specifically Silicon Valley has to offer to startups, let's talk more about how you as a startup founder can take advantage of these opportunities. The thing is, when we are talking about expanding a solution to the US markets, first we should understand if your startup is ready for it. So now we will not only talk about what are your steps when you decide to expand, but the journey before that point. So setting a strong base before the expansion. Silicon Valley has competition like no other place in the world, like Armina just mentioned. So the chances are that there are at least 10 plus companies with a similar solution to yours, targeting the same market that you are going after. So that's why it's very important to set a strong base to your startup before you take your first steps towards expansion. And when we are talking about setting a strong base, first and foremost, it's important to have a strong team. Each one of the co-founders should bring to the table a significant amount of value. So when you're on a journey of building a unicorn, you should make sure by your side you have people that are extremely relentless and resourceful. So when you're hiring a co-founder, ask yourself, what value is this person bringing to the table? Is it is it like expertise in the domain? Is it their network in the domain, in the industry? Is it their execution experience of executing and taking to the market a similar solution? Also, it's important to ask yourself, are they the type of the person that is going to stick around during the toughest times? So get the best people and keep the best people. Get references from your network when you're hiring someone. So ask them if these people are among the top 5% of the professionals that they have in their network. And how you keep the best people is by creating an environment of growth. And if you realize that someone does not actually contribute to the creation of this environment, make sure to fire them fast. Otherwise, they are going to be poison to the company's culture, and they are going to take you to failure. So number two startup death reason is co-founder breaks, as we've seen on our experience. Number one, of course, is finding a market fit, idea and market fit, and the second reason is this. And the optimal number of co-founders you want to have in your startup is from 2 to 3. One is there's too much of a challenge for one person to be able to handle it. 4 is too much. 3 is the best number, especially for decision making and voting and deciding on your strategies and making other important strategic decisions. So hire in need and hire for 10 years. Building a startup is not a matter of 3 or 4 years. So make sure you have someone that is ready to stick around for a long time. And one bad hire in 5 first hires kills the company. So be very, very picky and be very conscious about who you are bringing into your team. A little more about getting the best people. Mediocre engineers, mediocre designers, mediocre project managers do not build great companies. And if you have enough mediocrity in your team, that again is gonna kill your company sooner than you get a chance to do your first steps for expanding to U.S. markets or any other markets. Always value attitude versus experience. So if you have someone that's new in what they're doing, however, has the right attitude for learning and growing, you should definitely go ahead and pick them over someone that has 20 plus years of experience, however, no desire to grow and no attitude to grow and take your idea to $1 billion company. When interviewing a co-founder or any other early team member, or not early, any other team member, make sure to understand what projects they have done previously. That might not be building a startup and exiting, but at least if they have done even some personal projects, some university projects, because startups are all about execution and delivering results. You gotta make sure these people there are people that are very visionary, very good at planning, however they are not good at executing the idea. That's great, but you don't want them to be in your startup. Make sure these people are maniacally determined and won't chill until they get what they want. And when hiring at SmartGate VC too, we make sure our new team members pass these 2 tests. The first test is the animal test. Make sure to ask them what animal they would associate themselves with. If they mention an unstoppable animal like tiger, like lion, this means that they are unstoppable. If they mention an animal like turtle, like panda, or cat, that's cute, but again, most probably not the type of person that can survive in a startup and build a startup. And the next test we ask ourselves if we will feel comfortable reporting to this person. That means there is a great cultural fit, and this person will stick around and help us build the company through good and bad days. Retain best people. And how to retain best people, I especially wanted to mention this point, that you should distribute generous equity to your first employees, because the times when they're joining the startup is very risky. They are risking a lot, and they should be rewarded for that. And this is how you can actually bring the good people and keep the good people. So usually the first 10% of the equity goes to the first 10 employees. I wanted to mention this because this is a very common practice in US and Silicon Valley area. However, founders in Europe, Central Eastern Europe, Eastern Europe don't really practice this. This doesn't give the employees enough motivation. This is just another additional motivation for the team to stick around and build the idea with you. And for managing, make sure to do managing these people. Make sure to do constant one-on-one meetings, do all hands where the whole team thinks on what you're working on, and create an instant feedback providing loop, and make sure everyone always gets feedback on how are they doing, and you yourself as a manager make sure to get feedback from your team members and improve accordingly. So startups are modeled after founders. So your DNA is actually the company's DNA. Whatever you do will become the company's culture. So make sure to get a lot of focus and intensity and get to work. Now I'm gonna give you like 10 to 20 seconds to, in your mind, think of the 3 things that you spend the most time and money on. Like the first things that come to your mind. I'm gonna give you like 10 more seconds. Okay, you got it? So these 3 things are most probably the 3 things that you prioritize currently the most in your life. So think about it and see if these things actually contribute to your cause, your company's cause, your personal cause, or they actually distract you from the focus. So if they distract you from the focus, learn to say no a lot. Startups are very execution heavy, and any minor distraction can get you off the track. Make sure to set overarching goals, repeat them, and communicate this with the team, because it's important that the team is on the same page with you. And it's important to mention that a small amount of extra work on right thing can make a huge difference. Another point we have added here, during the past year, with the COVID situation and remote work, we have noticed that this startups like this hurts startups a lot, and we in our team as well currently try to work in person as much as we can, because in this way teams are better in sync, and working together in person gives more chances of completing the milestones and moving forward. So if you have the chance to do this, make sure to do this. And intensity, you should have a relentless operational rhythm and obsession with execution quality. So this is a motto that we at SmartGate currently live by. It shows how much value the additional little percentage of work done every day in a year can have importance in the outcome of the work at the end of the year, and how much influence a little less amount of work done can have. And if you add a little more work and take out a little more work, how much is this difference? Like, it's crazy. So this works in your case as well. So if you can do it, if you can do one more extra thing today, do it today. And one of my friends has a very good saying. He's like, if you can do it today, you should have done it yesterday. So make sure you're not postponing, make sure you're on time, make sure you're consistently executing with a very high quality. Moving forward, the most valuable thing you can do for your startup at the early days is setting a culture of growth and excellence. And once you have built a strong team and validated your idea, then you can put all your efforts into these three directions to expand your solution in the US markets. So for expanding your solution to your US markets, first and foremost, obviously, you will need funding for this. So you should develop a good fundraising strategy and stick to it. And how to start this? Usually, at this stage, startups already have some early investors. And the four main values early stage investors bring to the company. This can be like early stage VC investors or early stage angels or individual investors. The first and most important four values they bring is, except for the capital, their expertise in the field. The second one is early customers. If they can bring in some early customers with them, that's awesome. And the third and very important one is co-investors. So reach out to them, have them shake their networks, have them make warm introductions with investors in US, and get in constant loop of pitching to these investors and improving. Schedule as many calls as you can with investors in the industry that you are building the solution, and pitch them, and keep improving on their feedback. And when pitching, make sure to back your statements with metrics. Don't go and tell, we have a world-class technology, we have a billion-dollar market potential, we have an amazing team. Replace these ambiguous statements with actual numbers. What's the actual market size? What's your current traction? What measurable results you have up to these days? We come across this issue a lot. So we really appreciate when startups come to us with numbers. Instead of like saying we have a world-class team, mention like the experience of your team in the industry. If they have worked in some impressive companies, make sure to put the logos on your pitch deck. So do everything to show them why are you strong at this, and why are you the team that's going to put this idea up in the ladder. And every investors, when listening to pitch, constantly come up with objections in their head. This is their weakness. This is why this startup is most likely to fail. So make sure to understand what are the objections of each investor that you're pitching to, and improve your pitch deck and your presentation after every pitch you do to an investor. And handle the objections during the presentation before they arise and before they become a distraction in the investor's head for actually hearing your presentation. And demonstrate consistent excellence. Investors invest in lines and not dots. So when we meet a company at a given point of time and we see impressive numbers, impressive work, impressive team, this by itself is not enough for us to make an investment decision. We usually like to follow the company for a couple of months, have maybe weekly calls with the team, see how they improve on the feedback, see constant growth. So make sure you show consistent excellency and consistently high execution quality. And that's when you are most likely able to convert potential investors to actual investors. Um, yeah, this is pretty much it here. Next thing you should do is go ahead and start growth hacking. I'm sure most of you know, but what's growth hacking? Growth hacking is the practice of using creative, low-cost strategies for acquiring customers. And some very common ways of hacking your growth into a new market are setting up a content creating strategy to support your SEO, building relationships with top journalists and influencers, uh, set, um, setting up efficient ad campaigns that actually convert to leads, setting up an email marketing campaign, and leveraging all these channels. You might decide to focus on one of these. You might decide to focus on two, three, or all four of these, or find any other channel that might bring you customers, but make sure to measure whatever you do, whatever you think that is going to work and you decide to stick to, make sure to measure and improve consistently. And third and most importantly, set up a tested and working sales pipeline. This is the stage where you already should hire a sales team, uh, gather a sales team, and also start working on sales deck and sales pitch, constantly talk to potential customers and improve your pitch deck, your sales deck and sales pitch according to their reactions, according to their actions after your call. A/B test various sales scripts to find the ones that actually work for you, that convert. And also, expos are another good way of acquiring customers. So see what relevant industry expos are there in US and make sure to be part of them. Go present your idea, talk to new people, get to know new people. And in all these three directions, fundraising, growth hacking, and sales, the most important thing is consistency. Uh, if you decide to do one or two of these directions in bits and pieces, you might as well just not do anything, because it's not going to show a result if you don't execute in consistency. So if you take just one thing from this presentation, it's this point. We see a lot of founders starting to develop a sales pipeline and reaching out to customers. Then they get some customers and they actually forget to properly follow up with them, make sure to do customer success measurement and customer success journey tracking, and all their efforts that they have put into developing this process is just gone. So making sure whatever you do it with consistency. Founders from Central Eastern Europe are very often very detached from the competition. So it's very easy to lose the sense of urgency. And sometimes when looking at Silicon Valley from above, what media shows us and what the impression founders have is doing a startup is as a fun project with friends, investing money and having all the fun you can have. But actually what it is, it's long hours of work, long hours of coding away the product, reaching out to your customers, doing endless meetings with investors. You might do 30 meetings and only one converts. And it's a lot of dedication, it's a lot of persistence. So startups are not the best choice for people that are looking for work-life balance. But once you are in this game, the higher the risk, the higher is the reward. So you guys know the best that this is not one of the easy routes. and how we at SmartGate help startups throughout this journey of expanding to new markets. We have our Gateway Acceleration Program, throughout which we work with each team. Like we go through an individual development program tailored to each company's needs, do hands-on work with each team, and provide all the resources, expertise, network, and introductions to potential customers that they need for entering US markets. We have made this program into a hybrid format. So it's 9 weeks remote mentorship and one-on-one meetings with seasoned professionals, our team and mentors on sales, growth hacking, and fundraising. After which we have the founders go to Silicon Valley for 3 weeks and have an on-site development. To get exposure to the business expertise in Southern California and Silicon Valley, do face-to-face customer interviews, sales meetings, do have a demo day in front of 100 plus US investors and raise their seed rounds. Currently, the call for applications for the program is open. So if you fit these criteria, feel free to apply. If you have a tech solution, have some early traction, which means you have already validated your idea and have raised some amount to support your company or your bootstrapping. Here are some key dates to keep in mind. So the applications will be open until October 29. You can learn more and apply to the program if you are fit with this QR code. I will leave this for a couple of seconds for those that want to learn more. So take a photo, scan it, start a link. And if you are like not sure if this is the program that is fit for you, or you would like to get SmartGate VC's teams feedback on your pitch deck, or have a quick one-on-one meeting to get to know each other, this is the link that you can use to schedule to request a one-on-one meeting with our team. So currently we are also expanding our investment geographics. We are actively in the stage of sourcing new companies for the fund, so happy to jump on a call and talk to you. I am Mane, and we were joined by also my colleague Armine. These are the QR codes to our LinkedIn. Happy to connect with you. And we post in LinkedIn very often about the upcoming opportunities at SmartGate and Hero House. So happy to connect, and thank you so much.